Boom. Hello, and welcome to the Rock and Roll Podcast. I'm your host, John Harris, and today on the Rock and Roll Podcast, we have Incursion, and they have a new EP called The Hunter, which was released, I have last year. Is that correct, Max?
Yes, we released it digitally last year, and then it was released physically on No Remorse Records in January of this year.
Wow. Okay, so we'll have to definitely chat about the physical release in January from No Remorse Records. And so right now I'm being joined by Maxx Havick to share some more info about this release. So Max, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks for writing some good, what do you guys call yourselves? New wave of traditional heavy metal?
I think that's kind of where we're falling in. I think we're basically just a traditional heavy metal band. But I'm very proud to be in the class of the new wave of traditional heavy metal, if that's where people put us.
Everybody's got to fit, into the slots these days.
Yeah.
That's how it was sold to me, Max. New wave of traditional heavy metal, specifically from the USA. Because I think for a while when there was a resurgence, it was new wave of British heavy metal. And even myself, I remember thinking, but you're from America and it's not new anymore. That happened. But so,
right. But I think, I guess the basic premise is that the genre has moved away from what has been prototypically like a heavy metal band, and I think with what's happened over the last couple of waves of music, it's moved away from that, and I think this is sort of like hearkening back to a time where it wasn't the interspersing of actual singing and actual screaming and growling and Cookie Monster things, and like drop tuning and corpse paint and all of that stuff. So there's a huge wave of there's a huge predominance of that stuff, which seems to be at the current state of heavy metal. And then there's a burgeoning group of bands, of which we are one of them, that sort of harkens back to prior to like everybody needing to put on a mask or something.
Exactly. And do those drop to. So there's no drop tunings on the record, Max?
No, Z440. We are. Anyone can pick up a guitar and play us.
All right. Well, that's cool. Now, speaking of hearkening back, what is this EP about? Because I see, unless it's just track numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm envisioning that this is sections of a story and there's an arc. Am I correct?
That is correct. It is a concept EP. It is about the hunter and his trials, his path and journey from coming out of a war-torn era and having to, do an ultimate fight versus good versus evil.
Okay, this is heavy stuff for an EP, Max.
We were very much influenced by. We're big fans of Rush, big fans of Genesis, big fans of Merciful Fate, Iron Maiden, Venom, and they all had these long sort of like songs that sort of delved a little bit deeper into the surface, into like a story, like telling a story. And so this is our attempt to carry on that kind of tradition.
I'm reminded immediately of 2112 by Rush.
Very much so.
Okay.
An accurate thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was called an album, but I always thought it was more, because there's only a few songs on it, and I think, maybe is it more of an EP? It's really big, just one giant song. Should we just call it a single? But either way, we've got this massive storyline. So you mentioned some pretty heavy stuff there. He comes out of a war-torn era and has this battle to do between good and evil. So where are we at in the story on, say, for example, a couple of tracks we're going to chat about today is Fade to Black, I'm guessing, is the end, and then Kingdom of the Dead, well, it can't be the end because we move on from there. We move on to a couple more tracks. So where are we at with Fade to Black?
Fade to Black is when he Fade to Black is the point in which he recognizes where what the next battle needs to be for him to face again. It's the prelude to the final face-off with the king of all the dead, which is the next song. And so this basically describes, his aftermath between his soul searching and his realization that he has the ability to he is up for the challenge, and he is readying himself for this fight. And then Kingdom of Dead is where he begins that journey and finally faces off with the king of all the dead, to become the king of all the land in the end of at the end of the storyline.
Okay, so he comes out a hero.
Yes, not to have a spoiler alert, but that's what happens.
Spoiler. Whoops. Sorry, everybody.
Exactly.
Earmuffs, so you didn't hear any of that. Now, I guess my question is, why these two tracks to chat about today? I can't remember if I chose them or if you guys chose them, but Fade to Black and Kingdom of the Dead, how come these two tracks?
Well, I think once we'd always looked at this as a big, a sum of all the parts, parts of, the parts of a whole. But when we actually had it all finished, it just felt like the songs that people were that we thought that people might gravitate to, and things that were representative of us, not only as part of this EP, but what they could expect from us down the road as well. So we thought that these two songs were kind of indicative of what we are, and gives us some scope of where we're going.
Okay. Now that brings up a big question. Where are you going? I know it's that direction because the album artwork has the horse pointing that way, but
well, we are we're in the process of recording our full length right now, and so we're hoping that once it's finished, people will be able to hear like a full body of work instead of a 22-minute sort of taste of what we've done so far. And it's basically a continuation, more musically than like thematically. We're not going to be a constant. We're not going to continue the story on the full length, but it basically gives you an idea of what we're trying to do musically with these two songs, all of the songs, but these two songs in particular.
Right. You're like, sorry guys, we can do one or the other. We can give you really great music or a really great story, but we can't.
Not both.
Yeah. Sorry guys, not both. Do you have any idea how hard it is to write a story for twice as long as 22 minutes?
I know. Jeez. Well, 2112 was one side, and it was roughly 20 minutes. So we're in that world, So we just thought that it was a nice capsule, a nice idea in which we could we could start our path, in this world. And, and then COVID happened, and that changed a little bit of the trajectory of what our plans were. And so now here we are, embarking on our full length, and hopefully, the world will be open a little bit more. It'll be safe for us to venture outside of our shores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because something I've got here is you guys were active 82 to 86 and then decided to come right back in time for the pandemic to happen.
Exactly. We our timing was impeccable. We were like, oh yeah. So we recorded we'd come back together in 2018, and in our early days we were literally just a bunch of guys that were playing locally. We never, outside of a demo that we did, we never explored beyond South Florida. And then we had all gotten together to sort of hang out and relive old times, and we started playing, and it sort of felt like it felt good, and it seemed like the songs seemed still kind of, sort of, sometimes when you look backwards at the things that you've done and you go, this was kind of cheesy or what have you. But we kind of felt that we had, like, there was something interesting still about these songs. So we went about to putting this together, and we fortunately have found some like-minded people who appreciate what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and by like-minded, I mean, I don't want to. I'm so humble. I don't want to throw myself, in there. But No Remorse, is it just for the physical release of the EP, or are you guys signed to do this album with them as well?
We are signed to do the album with them. We're doing the album for No Remorse, and we've played them new stuff, they've heard the stuff, they sort of was like, well, if we can get the album, we'll do the EP. So we were very fortunate that they found us, because we sort of spent a year trying to find a home for us, and we were sort of prepared to put it out ourselves. But the guys at No Remorse have been really great with helping us on this journey and getting eyeballs on us, putting the spotlight on us, and we're in great company. They have a great group of bands, so it's really great to be a part of what they're doing.
Yeah, I was going to ask what I guess you guys are looking for in a label. Kind of a weird question, but
well, what we were looking for was someone that would give us. There's a lot of notion of, like, well, you can get your record out on to a lot of streaming services yourself, and that should be, you don't really need labels anymore. And I think the role that we, for us, we were looking for someone to actually help us navigate the world as it exists, not only in the digital space, but in the physical space. And No Remorse are one of, like, 2 or 3 labels that are slowly but surely becoming like the Metal Blade or Mega Force of this era, if that's a unarrogant way to talk about my label name. But yeah, I think there's a, they've got some really smart people and some really savvy appreciators of the genre, and I think we are, for us being on this call is testament to their reach and their willingness to help us, spread the word, even though it's not the most efficient way, because we don't have the ability to be in front of people. So, hopefully there are people who are really interested in like hearing about new bands, and then it primes them for when you can hopefully see us.
Yeah, that's the big one right there that I don't think a lot of people realize right now is music industry hasn't changed permanently just yet, but it's in a stasis right now where bands have formed that have never been in the same room together.
Yeah.
Because of the technology that allows us to record from home and share files via Dropbox or whatever it might be. You can send it off to a professional studio to get reamped and mixed, and it comes out sounding like everybody was in the same room together, and then you shop it to a label and you have no clout because you're technically not even a real band, I guess, or something. And then, but
yeah.
But if the whole landscape looks like this, and what to stop a label from going through with it, I guess on the hope that once touring opens up, you become a real band and you get your ass on the road and start working.
Right. Yeah. And that wasn't exactly the situation with us. We were all in the same room. We recorded this record in Orlando, Florida, and we were all together. There isn't any reamping or any of that sort of like we're playing into like a DI box and something. We actually did everything in like a studio, and we were all there.
No drop tunings, no reamping.
Yeah, no drop tuning, no reamping. Like it's guitars and real amps and singers without auto tune. So we were we all have a relationship with each other, and throughout the process of recording the album, we're really coming together, and it's gonna. I hope it's apparent on the recording.
Mm-hmm. How's the full album going? Are you guys doing that in the studio? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're at Alpaca Ranch Studio in Orlando, and our engineer is a guy named Chris Short. He's worked with Ailstorm, and he's done, I believe, he did stuff on early Trivium Records.
Okay.
And it worked out really great when we did the EP with him. So we're basically trying not to like reinvent the wheel and stick with the same group of people to make sure that we keep the vibe right and keep the energy where it needs to be, so it doesn't feel disingenuous to who we are.
Yeah. Now, silly question for you, Max. If you're in Nashville, why record in Florida? You're in Nashville.
Everybody else is in Florida, and it's easier for me to go down there than to everybody else to come up here.
Okay, I thought you were going to say that you'd end up with some twang in the guitars or something.
No, we still, the Marshalls still work in Nashville.
Oddly enough, they do.
Yes, and it feels right to go in and make a record. Like we're not under any illusions of how difficult a task this is. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like previous eras where there was a huge swath of hard rock music happening at the time. So
right.
We appreciate the people that have gravitated to us, and we're happy serving those fans. And if we can grow it to where, obviously we'd love to grow it, but we think that it's going to entail being in front of people and really getting a sense to feel something tangible.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's not often you want to bring something out of the darkness and into the light and do it in front of people. I don't know why all that came to mind, but it did.
Yeah. We're just, we're anxious for the world to open up, and I think like everybody. So, I think it's going to, hopefully it'll open up. It'll bring us some newer opportunities as well.
For sure. It absolutely will. So today we chatted about more than Rush 2112, but being Canadian, I had to focus on Rush 2112.
Of course.
We chatted about those nasty drop tunings and reampings. We chatted about recording a full-length album. And then predecessor to that, we chatted about the EP, The Hunter, the arc and storyline, and a couple of tracks, Fade to Black and Kingdom of the Dead. We even gave away the spoiler alert, so if you're just tuning in, then don't worry about it.
Yes. Just go listen to the record.
Exactly. Just go listen to the record, killer record, and that you guys are working with No Remorse Records to physically release the EP, and then as well to later release the full length, and it sounds even like tour support as well. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. It's going to be, we're depending on when the world, the big question marks are always like, well, when's the world opening up? So,
exactly.
New York is supposed to open next month in July. So I'm sure everyone will take their cues from that.
Yeah. And if that goes through and whatever else, I do have some bands coming through that want to talk about touring in the summer in July, and I don't know. Well, we'll see. Australia, New Zealand, totally different story. That's another story. But if you're from anywhere else in the world, I'm kind of hesitant right now. Like not this, I don't know. Maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Not superstitious, but
skeptical.
Skeptical. There we go. Yeah. Just because of the way things have been going.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends in Canada who are still waiting to be vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
The process is not on a global sense uniform, and then with all the variants that are happening, it's going to. I'm not so sure that you're going to get a handful of people flying all over the country, all over the globe, and running into 4 or 5 different countries in a week or two.
Right.
Even coming, the United States are huge, and even Canada.
Mm-hmm.
You're in Edmonton. What's happening in Edmonton's decidedly different than what's happening in Toronto, which is what's decidedly happening differently in Halifax.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And if anything, Halifax is the place to be right now. Beautiful. All right. Well, Max, thank you so much for coming on to the Rock and Roll Podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you all. You can find us online on Facebook at the band Incursion, as same on Instagram, and you can check us out on Incursion Heavy Metal on Bandcamp.